from the Excel sheet. We covered output using message boxes and from the sheet. We covered processing structures like the if statement and loops, for loop and do until loop. So today we are going to learn about, we will continue with the do until loop because it's one of the most important structured programming, but we will learn how to use it in a more practical way. So let me show you an example. Let's say that I have grades, right? This is, and I have some 90, I have 60, I have 82, and I have 20, I have 40, okay? And I want to set this to pass or fail, okay? I want to use an if function to check if the grade is greater than 50 or greater than 70. If it's greater than 70, pass, else fail. So something like this equals if the grade is greater than 70, then pass, else fail. Okay. Right? So we already know how to do it in Excel. We know how to do this in Excel, and we know how to do it for a single cell using the if function. We took the if function, the if statement in programming, and I can do it in one cell, right? I can use an if the if statement to check for one grade if it is greater than 90 or less than 90, and then accordingly display pass or fail using the if statement in VBA. But this is not what I want. I want automatically to go through every single line of data and modify this value accordingly, right? So we need to find a function that will allow Excel to move down cells. I want to be able to move down cells using Excel. Okay, so let's look at these functions, right? The function we are going to use is called offset function. So let me show that to you, right? So what we're going to do now is I'm going to create a macro that is going to move the selection, the currently selected cell, to the right. So for example, I'm selecting cell L11. I will select M11, N11, and so on, right? So let's see how we can do this. Okay. So I'm going to select record a macro. I will call it write, for example, right? And then I will stop recording. Okay. And then I will go to my Visual Basic. And now I have module 2, right? So what the write will do is move the selected cell to the right. Okay. There is one function that allows us to do this. The function is called offset. So how do we write an offset function? Now, please watch carefully. The first thing is active cell. Active cell means the currently selected cell. Active cell in Excel is the cell that is currently active, the cell that is currently selected. Okay, dot, and then offset. Okay, and then the parameters of the offset function determine whether we want to move up and down, right or left. Now, if you look closely here at the parameters, it tells you the rows offset and columns offset. So the first parameter of the function is how many rows you want to move. Rows means up and down. Okay, all right. So in this case, I don't want to move up and down. I want to move right or left. So for the rows, I will put 0. And for the columns, the second parameter, I will put a 1. Okay. Right. So active cell means the current selection. Dot offset means move. Okay. And then 0 and 1 means I will not move any rows. I will stay in the same row. And 1 means I will move one column to the right. Okay. Dot select. Dot select means select this new cell. So active cell dot offset dot select means go to this one cell to the right of the currently selected cell and select it. Okay. Active cell dot offset of 0 and 1 dot select. Now, if I go to my Excel And I'm going to create a button called write here. Insert the button. I will call it write. Okay. And if I select any cell and click right, I'm going to move to the right. You can see the selection is moving to the right. Okay. Let's create another one called left. Okay. So I'm going to record another macro. I will call it left this time. Okay. And stop recording. Go to my Visual Basic. Same thing. So active cell dot offset off. I'm going to move to the left. So again, I'm not going to move any rows. So 0 one more time. Now, if I want to move to the right, I entered 1. What value should I put if I want to move to the left? -1, right? So if you want to move to the right, it's +1. If you want to move to the left, it's -1. Dot select. Okay. So this is going to move you to the left. Okay. So guys, the most important thing is here are the parameters of the function. If you want to move right and left, then the first parameter is 0. If you want to move up and down, then the second parameter is 0. Look at that. Okay. So now if I create a button for left in my Excel, I can also insert another button right here. I will call it left. And if I select any cell, I can move it right, and I can move it left. I can play around with this as much as I want. Okay, let's do an up, or let's do one down first. Okay, so again, I'm going to record a macro called down. Stop recording. Go to my Visual Basic, and I am going to active cell dot offset. Now I want to move up, move down. So now I want to change the rows. So I will set the row change to 1, comma, and then the column offset to 0. I want to stay in the same column but go down, and dot select. And that's it, right? So what controls the direction of the movement and how many cells you want to move is the parameters of the offset function. So you need to be very careful with this. You need to understand the parameters, what the parameters mean. Right? So again, after doing this, if I go to my Excel and insert another button called down, now if I click here, it goes down, right, and left. Okay, you can do the up button. It's exactly like the down, except that the parameter will be -1. So it's -1 and 0 if you want to go up. Okay. So again, you want to move to the right, 0, 1, to the left, 0 and -1, down 1 and 0, up -1 and 0. Now let's use this offset function to answer the question that we had in Excel. So here in Excel, what we wanted to do is we wanted to find a way to using the if statement in programming, or the if statement in programming, to go through every cell and enter either pass or fail depending on the value of the grade. So if the grade is greater than 70 is pass, less than 70 is fail. So we want to do this by using programming. Okay? Now pay attention, because this is a new thing, so it can be a little bit sophisticated, right? Okay. So we are going to record a macro. We'll call this macro course pass, for example. Who is going to pass the course? Okay. I'll press OK. Now, remember, guys, when we talked about macros and how stupid they are, I told you you have to be very explicit when you are selecting everything. So to make sure we are explicit, okay, I'm going to select a different sheet, go back to sheet 2, the sheet that contains my data, and then I will explicitly select the cell B2, first cell that I want to fill in. Or not B2, let's select the first cell of data, A2, the first cell that contains my data, which is A2, right? So I selected A2 in sheet 1 and sheet 2, and then stop recording. Now, if I go to my Visual Basic, you will see that the macro is not empty. The macro has sheet2.select. The sheet 2 is the sheet that contains my data, and the cell A2, which has the first cell of data. Okay, everyone? Now, we want to go through the data and check if the data is greater than 60 or not. If it is, then we modify it. We enter pass, otherwise fail. So to do that, we are going to use the do until loop. Okay. Right. So I want you to look at the data and tell me what should my condition be here. All right. I will go to the A2, then go to A3, then A4, then A5, then I should stop here. So what is my condition here? When should I stop? When should my loop stop? What is the condition I should put on the loop? When I encounter what? When there is no more data, right? I need to continue processing the data until there is no more data. So I will going to repeat my data until I reach the first empty cell. I will stop when I get to the first empty cell, right? When I reach an empty cell, this means there is no more data to process and I need to stop. So how do I translate this into the do until loop? Very simple. Do until active cell is equal to empty. Okay. So I'm going to repeat until the currently selected cell is empty. Okay. There is no space here, guys. There is no space. Open double quotation and close them right away. There is no spaces inside the double quotations. Okay. Right. So for each cell, I'm going to check the value. So if active cell, right, is greater than 70, then okay, I want to display the value pass in the corresponding B column. So I want to display it here. I want to display, if I am in cell A2, I want to display pass in B2, right? So how will I do this? Okay, active cell dot offset. I want to move to the next column, so it is 0 and 1 is equal to pass. Okay. Right. So this lines means, let me add a comment here. Put pass in the cell right of the currently selected cell. Okay. Right. So I will put the value pass in the cell right of the currently active cell. Else, I will copy the same thing, but I will set it to fail instead. So V equals fail. Okay, and then and if, okay, right, and now I have looked at my condition. Now I want to move my selection down one more. So far for one cell only, I checked if the value is greater than 70, then pass, otherwise fail. Then I want to go to the next row. So to do that, I need to use active cell dot offset 1 and 0 dot select, and then loop. Okay. I will explain that to you once we try and run it. I will show that to you in action. Right? So again, what we are trying to do here is I'm going to continue processing the data until I reach an empty cell. And for each cell, I'm going to check if the value is greater than 70. In this case, I will print pass in the corresponding B column. Okay. Otherwise, I'm going to write fail. And then I'm going to move to the next row and so on. So here, move to the next row. Okay. Now let's save our work. And let's try and run it. Let's go to our Excel and see if it works or not. Perfect, it's working fine. Okay, I'll give everyone a minute to make sure it's working, and then we will run it step by step to see how it's working, right? So to show you how it's working step by step, I'm going to put both Excel and VBA beside each other, like this, and I'm going to track down my code. Right? Okay, so the first step is I'm selecting sheet 2, which I'm already there. Perfect. Then I will select cell A2. Perfect. Cell A2 is now selected. And now I'm going to get into this loop. Okay. Inside the loop, I will check if the active cell is greater than 70. This one is. So I'm going to print the word pass in the corresponding cell. So pass in B2. Okay. Then active cell dot offset of 1 and 0 will move me down to A3. Nice. Then again, I will check one more time if active cell is greater than 70. No. So I will go to the else and display failed, and then go down one more. Active cell is not empty. Active cell has a value 82. Therefore, I will get inside the loop and check if it is greater than 70, which it is. I will print pass. I will go down. Same thing here, right? And I move to the first empty cell. So now I am in A6, which is empty. So inside the loop will check if I am in an empty cell. Yes, I am in the empty cell. So I'm going to exit the loop altogether. Nothing will be executed, and the code is complete. Is there anything mysterious here? Anyone needs me to explain something here, guys? Okay, any questions? Check the function to check whether the value is numbered or not numbered. So, okay, you can do using well. I can show you later on the application, but I don't want to get it. All right. Okay. So let's do an example, another example from the individual project. So I'm going to open the individual project, and I will get you guys to select one of the questions here for me to do. All right. So the questions that we can do, we will solve using this starts from question 4, okay, all the way to 7. Okay. So using the if function, is either question 6 or 7. So pick one of these questions and we'll do it. Which one do you want? Question 6 or 7? Pick one. 7? Okay. You pick the harder one? Right. So we'll do question 7 together. I will show you how to repeat the same thing on this question as an example. Okay. Right. So let's open the data file first. Okay. Right. Right. So we are going to do question 7, which asks us to create the new salary too using some function. Let's look at what is required, and we will do it together. Now, before I even look at the question, what I would be doing in the if function, I'm going to start by building the framework of my loop. So I know that I will go cell by cell, and I will do something inside each cell. So I'm going to record a macro. Okay. I will call it question 7. Question 7. Okay. Right. And I need to be explicit, so I will select another cell, go back to database, and explicitly select my first data, which is employee ID, this one. Okay. And then I'm going to stop recording, right? And go to my Visual Basic. Yes. Okay. This is question 7. I selected cell A2, A8, which represents my first cell of data. And now I know that I need to create a loop. So do until active cell is empty. Right? And towards the end of the loop, I need to make sure I go to the next cell. So active cell dot offset of 1 and 0 dot select, and then loop. Okay, so I build my frame. This is my frame. The if function will go inside the loop, right? I know I will need the loop anyway. This is why I created my loop by using the do until active cell is empty, and then continuing by going to the next cell, next cell, next cell until the end of the data, right? And now I need to figure out the logic. What is the logic to set up the new salary? Okay, let's look at the question itself. Everyone okay, guys? Everyone is fine? Okay. So let's look at the file itself and see what am I supposed to do here in question 7. Okay. All right. If an employee is working in a department whose name starts with the letter A or has been with the company more than 15 years, then her or his salary increased by 12%. Okay. Right. Okay. So here I need a variable. I need a variable to hold the salary of the individual, right? So to do that, I'm going to create a variable at the very top here. Okay. I will give salary as double. Now salaries can be decimal point, so I enter it as double to mean that it can take decimal points. So double means a number that can take decimal points. So I created a variable that is double. Okay. Right. And inside the loop for each cell, I want to capture the salary. So I will say that salary is equal to, right? I will go to my data and see what column contains the salary value. If you look here, you will see that the salary is in cell in column F. Okay. Right. Salary is in column F, right? So in order to catch this, you need to use the offset function, right? Right now I am in cell A8. So where is cell F8 compared to A8? We need to count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is offset of 0 and 5. So salary is going to be equal to active cell dot offset of 0 and 5. Okay, so this is going to get me my salary. This is the value of my salary, right? Again, this is important, so I will repeat it again. The question asks me to update the new salary too based on the salary. So I need to hold this salary in a variable. How to get the value of salary? By using the offset function. I am right now, the program starts at cell A8. So I need to know how many cells I need to go in order to reach the salary cell. So I need to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so I start counting after the cell. This is 1, offset 1, offset 2, 3, 4, and 5, and this will get me my salary. So now I have my salary. Now let's look at the logic. If the employee is working in a department whose name starts with the letter A, or has been with the company more than 15 years, right? So let me put both the VBA and Excel inside each other again, so we can see, we can apply them together, right? Okay, right. So if this is a question, if I will open parentheses, okay, if the department starts with the letter A, in VBA, in Excel, in order to get the first character, we use the left function, right? Remember, guys, we use left function. Same thing here. There is a left function in VBA as well. If left, okay. I want the department. The department is in cell in column D. This is 3 cells away from A8. So 1, 2, 3. So if left of active cell dot offset of 0 and 3 and 1 is equal to A. Okay, this means that if the left of this cell, if the first character of the department, which is 3 cells away from column A, is equal to A, okay, or still can use an or. Years in service. Years in service is in column J. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Or active cell dot offset of 0 and 9 is greater than 15. Then, right? If either of these conditions is true, either the value in offset 0 and 3, which is the department 1, 2, 3, starts with an A, or the cell in column J, the value in column J, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, is greater than 15, then I'm going to increase the salary by 12%. 12%, right? So I'm going to change the new salary. The new salary 2 is in cell L. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? Active cell dot offset of 0 and 12. 11 is going to be equal to the salary that I already have. I already have my salary here. Salary plus salary multiplied by 0.12. Okay. So if these conditions are met, then I'm going to set my active cell to be my new salary to be the salary, old salary plus 12% of the old salary, which means an increase of 12%. Okay. Else, let's For else, let's look at the other condition first. Else, if, however, the employee is not working in a department whose name starts with the letter A and has been between 5 and 15 years, she gets a salary increase by 8.5%. So we have an else if. So else if. Okay. Again, the left of active cell dot offset 0 and 3 and 1 is not equal to A. And this time an and okay, he has been working for the years between 5 and 10 years, so I'm going to copy the or here. Active cell offset of 0 and 9 is greater than 5, and active cell of 0 and 9 is less than 15, less than 10. Between 5 and 15, less than 15. Then, let me expand this now so you can see it. Right? Right? So this is the other condition. Else if the department does not start with the letter A, and this employee has been with the company between 5 and 15 years, then the new salary, I'll copy. So you can see I can copy the same thing. So I'm going to copy. Okay, time is 0.085, 8.5%, and then else the salary stays the same. And then if, okay. So this is as hard as it gets, right? The conditions are pretty hard. But the important thing is how we are using the offset function, right? The offset function to capture the value in certain cells. The most common mistake I see is entering the wrong offset. When you are counting, you count off by 1 or so, or something like that, and you get an error. But you can fix it by recounting. Now, if I save my work and run it, and look at my answer, you will see that I have the new salary correctly set up. Okay. Now, question 6 is exactly the same, but you have to modify the conditions. That's all. Remember to save your work. Don't forget to save your work. Okay. So again, let's go through the logic. I started by creating the framework for the loop. So do until and then active cell dot offset and loop. And then I looked at my conditions and I set them inside an if statement. We'll do one more, and then I will let you guys. Anyone get errors, guys? Because you can get errors. If anyone get an error problem, let me know. Or if there is something you don't understand why I did it, or you feel it's not right, it doesn't make sense, let me know. And I want to show that to you in logic. Logic is very important. Okay. Let's do something a little bit simpler. Let's do a question number. Okay, pick one of 4 or 5. 4 or 5. 4. Okay. So write a macro that will highlight records in blue color. Okay. With all employees that are either in marketing or accounting department and with a hiring date between 1/1/1985 and 1/1/1990. Okay. All right. So now this is not an if function. Now, or this is an if function, but this is we don't need to modify anything. We're not creating a new value. We are highlighting some values in Excel. So let's try and do this together and see how it works. First, again, I'm going to create my framework. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to record a new macro. We'll call this question 4. Okay. Again, I'm going to select a reference sheet, go back to database, select my A8 explicitly, and then stop recording. Okay. And then go to Visual Basic, make sure I have everything selected correctly. Now I'm going to set up my loop structure. So do until active cell is empty. Right, and towards the end, I'm going to make sure I go to the next cell. So active cell dot set of 1 and 0 dot select. Okay, and then loop. Okay, now I have my structure set up in place. Okay. Now let's start looking at our conditions and doing them with an if. So the if says here, employees that are either in marketing or accounting. So let's put Visual Basic next to the Excel as we did before. Okay, so either in marketing or accounting. This is again cell 1, 2, 3. Okay. So if active cell dot offset of 0 and 3 is equal to accounting, double quotations. Accounting is text, so it needs to be in double quotations. Or same thing, active cell dot offset 0 and 3 is equal to marketing. Let's look at the rest of the question. And the date is between 1/1 okay, in 1985, 1/1/1990. Okay, and another conditions. Let's find out the cell with the hiring date. G. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And active cell dot offset of 0 and 6 between 1/1/1985, so greater than or equal hash 1/1/1985. And that's everything. And active cell dot offset of 0 and 6 is less than or equal hash 1/1/1990. Then if these conditions are met, which is that the department is accounting or marketing and the hiring date, active cell of 0 and 6, is between 1985 and 1990 inclusive, then I want to change the color of the cell, right? So to do that, we use it selection dot font dot color index equals 5, and then end if. Okay, selection dot font dot color index will change the font of a certain cell, selected cell, to this value 5. I think it's fine, right? 5, right? So, and then end if, and this should do the trick, hopefully. Okay, so the complexity here, guys, is in the conditions inside the if. Now, if I run that, let's see if I did right or wrong. I should get one of the cells here in blue, which is not the case, which means that I did something wrong. Okay, let's see if we have one of the cells that meet these conditions. So accounting. You got one? Yes, one cell only, right? Yes, I didn't. So let me see what mistake did I do. So let me, to do that, I'm going to trace my code to see what happened. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go press F8. Right? It's okay to make mistakes. That's more than okay. Right. And then we will go to see I have here the wrong thing. Right. So let me stop and run it again. I had a typo, right? So typos can lead to problems. So I will stop and run it again, see if it will work this time. Yeah, I have one like here, 1426, that is highlighted in blue, which tells me that this is the only row that meets the condition. Right. Now, as you see, only one cell is highlighted here. Okay. In the individual project, this is all I want you to do. So I will show you how to highlight the whole row. But for the assignment, all I need you to do is to just highlight the first cell. Okay. First, let me check if everyone has got this right, and any questions before I show you how to highlight the whole row. Any question, guys? Any problems? If you get errors, you don't get this cell selected, let me know. Yep. So how can we select the whole column? How can we change the color of the whole row, right? So here before the selection.font.color index, what I will do is I'm going to select the whole row instead of just selecting, guys, down, voices down, please. Instead of selecting just one cell, I will select the whole row. So how do I do this? Very simple. Active cell, this means that this is cell A8 or A9 or A whatever. Okay, dot range. Okay, now I want to select the whole row. So it starts from cell A all the way to cell, let's say, cell L. Okay, so this is A to L. Okay, so dot range of A1 to L1. So this is going to make sure that I'm selecting the whole range. This will make sure that I select the whole range of my data. Right. So active cell means starting from the cell that I'm in right now. Select everything in the row from A1 to L1 means from the first cell in the row all the way until the last cell in the row. Select it and then change the color into blue. Okay. If I do this and run my code again and go to my Excel, you will see that we have the whole column highlighted, the whole row highlighted, sorry. Right. So we right. So we stop here, guys, and we'll continue after the exam. So see you next week. The next exam will be shorter than the last one, so hope it's easier. But please do the official project and the sample exam. You should do great on. No, this is not on the exam. The exam stops at the whole loop. This is not in the next exam. I will do that to you. Thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful week.